There's been so many times in life where I didn't have the courage to disappoint people. During the most crucial of moments, I've found myself prioritizing validation over authenticity and the idea of staying true to myself. Choosing to live in honest correspondence with who you truly are, rather than adapting to the imposed alignments of others, is a prominent dilemma many have faced and will continue to face. One of my biggest fears is simply not being able to live up to my potential, and lately it's been difficult embracing those vulnerabilities, but it becomes far more demoralizing when you do have the courage and the will to better yourself, to pursue great endeavors, and yet the results don't quite reward the effort, the sacrifice, and the amount of dedication put into it. It makes one question what even is the point of simply trying anymore. But most of all, it cements the idea that you will never be enough. Even if there are instances where you experience growth and are actually improving in certain areas, but even then you aren't satisfied. You fear falling short. You fear the idea of being inadequate. But most of all, you fear disappointment so much that you will literally do everything, sacrifice whatever is necessary, even your own personal integrity, simply to satisfy the expectation, whether imposed or self-inflicted. We tend to look at growth and the idea of gradually building confidence to be a process that is characterized by productivity, optimism, and something positive. But the reality is, we can lose that courage, that conviction, just as easily as it was building it. You're constantly being reminded of uncomfortable, messy truths, and thus the stakes grow. You can't afford to slip up now. Failing is no longer an option. Despite understanding the dangers of comparison, you still can't help but compare yourself to others. Looking back on myself, it's gotten to the point where it's become almost second nature to put on this character that simply refuses to disappoint people, one who can't afford to relive another uncomfortable memory. Lately, I've been feeling this way with YouTube. When publishing a video, I can't help but want to be noticed, to be acknowledged that I exist. My happiness is based on analytics, numbers, and data, so much so that when I see stagnation or disappointing outcomes, I would feel like the most miserable human being alive, dramatic and ignorant as I was. And when I don't get the results I want, I would feel like a disappointment to not only the people who have supported me, but also myself. Courage is most commonly viewed as a noble trait, soldiers risking their lives for the greater good, the hero's journey towards peace and prosperity, or perhaps rebellious individuals who stand against injustice in hopes of actualizing change. It serves as a noble cause for admirable aspirations and grand endeavors. Yet, despite such heroism and optimism, I feel like the idea of implementing courage within a context away from those themes and subjects isn't talked about as much. Having the conviction to lose, to welcome defeat, yet not resigning to circumstance. I find the subject to be underplayed in media at times. It counters the common cultural view towards success, splendor, likability, or perhaps resolution, where the focus centers around earning approval or winning affection. Strong, honest conviction often alienates people. We've seen it in media itself. People who still remain firm to their truth, despite standing in the minority. It could mean harboring the willingness to accept the possibility of failure, whether in status, opportunity, or perhaps approval. yet still remaining true to your personal integrity. It could also mean staying true to your creative voice, even if it doesn't exactly lead to validation and commercial success. Even with relationships, it can involve having the courage to end unhealthy connections or being authentically honest to oneself during conflict, all too well knowing of the pain it could lead to, yet still doing so out of the value of truthfulness and self-respect. Reflecting on myself, I've realized I'm not exactly the best at maintaining connection. Since I tend to prioritize convenience, I've found myself letting valuable social opportunities pass by, and in general, not committing myself to relationships outside of my family. Not to sound like a cynical, edgy anime protagonist, but as I've grown, I've always genuinely believed that it was far easier and peaceful being alone. I wouldn't have to bear the risk of connection, the stakes of commitment, the painful disappointments of the past, but I couldn't help but feel that it was strange. Although I thought I wanted to be alone, I also wanted to be noticed and accepted. Conviction isn't merely about maintaining a firm hold on one's beliefs and ideologies, but also harboring the willingness to acknowledge the discomfort of life's friction. Beyond being terrified of falling short, I often find myself ruminating over the times where how I could have done better. Still, to this day, that feeling lingers within me, and I'm sure we've all experienced this sentiment at some point through life. Regret is often the fear of many, including myself. The regret of inaction, missed opportunities, decision, failure, and even success. It encompasses so many areas of our lives, although doubt and uncertainty is just as often the root of what shatters conviction and courage, perhaps eroding one's will to act for themselves. Without clarity and direction, courage transforms into doubt, resignation, and fear. Self-betrayal may then creep in, where you might find yourself choosing what's safe and secure over your own personal dignity. Within such predicaments, I feel it's important we recognize the nature of doubt itself. At first glance, it's quite easy and natural to villainize doubt, because we view them as a threat to many of the things we value, such as certainty, control, peace, and confidence. Within our world today, which rewards direction and penalizes reluctance, it's no surprise that doubt is viewed as weakness or failure, an enemy of courage and conviction. But if you take the time to think more deeply, it is precisely because of doubt that courage is given value and meaning. It's incredibly easy to feel a sense of certainty when nothing in life has truly tested or pushed you to your limit. When acting upon your beliefs has never costed you anything. What is courage and conviction without discomfort, pain, and challenge? It's like steel that has never felt the sensation of being tempered, breakable, and inflexible. Depending on how we coexist with our doubts, they are capable of grounding us in many ways. Not only does doubt provide depth to one's conviction, it also allows us to reflect and pause, where we're given the opportunity to ask ourselves the more honest questions of life. Just like how fear can be utilized as a means of keeping ourselves in check, doubt provides us a space of introspection and reconsideration, whether in our motives or beliefs. And when you emerge from that space, that pause, still harboring the will to act, in spite of the discomfort and difficulty, it is then your courage, your conviction, becomes anchored. Rather than being impulsive, you begin to perceive uncertainty with honest eyes, and still make conscious, educated choices with self-respect and humility. To truly be courageous, to still march forward in spite of every reason your mind tells you not to, is to embrace the doubtful, uncertain moments where action and fear stand at a crossroads. Yes, you may lose that comfortability you've worked hard to maintain. You might face judgment and even doubt your own potential. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you aren't here to be universally acknowledged, validated, and understood. You are simply here to live and act honestly, untethered by image, inheritance, and what is performative. Because what is being human without the disappointment? And maybe then, beyond undergoing transformation, you begin to grow into yourself a bit more.